Send me if you have a question. Send me a chat if you have a question.
The recording is now started.
Okay.
Got it. Who asked me questions? Somebody called my name a minute ago.
They disappeared.
Okay. I can only troubleshoot one thing at a time.
There's a sign-in sheet going around. Make sure you fill out the sign-in sheet.
Oh, my God.
Did you sign one?
Yes, I did.
Did you sign it?
Okay, let me know who the first one.
He signed in.
Barry.
Yeah, Bert signed me in.
Barry.
Barry. You want me to keep this?
Only if you need it.
No, I don't.
Hello,
Hello.
this is Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Hey, Lindsay,
Yes, Wayne.
is there supposed to be a picture or?
I know they're going to be doing a screen share.
Was that your phone?
When we get started, you should be able to see Barry where my hand is. You should be able to see the PowerPoint that says Club Treasurer. And if you need things, send me a chat. Yeah, do you want to close the door, maybe? Thank you, sir.
My phone's been texting me. I just was telling you I was looking at.
Okay, we're finally ready. So welcome you to our class on treasurer's position. I'm Barry Allen, and my background has been the that too, but club treasurer for about 5 years now, or longer. This is my second tour as the district treasurer. And I'm currently the treasurer of 5 different organizations, so I get to play around a lot with a lot of money. And the high school really likes watching me because I usually walk in there with 3 or 4 checks for all the different programs. So where to start? Get right on our district website, and this is the website if you don't know where it is, and where it shows can't see it very well. Forms and whatnot. Down the drop list, and you can find club treasurer. It explains what you're supposed to do. I'm not going to read that to you, but if it gets you started. And then right here, Club Treasurer Resource Center, and that's a good one. Because that's going to take you onto LCI's website, and these 3 resources we're going to go through today. With the ebook, which I gave to most of you, I think I ran out. And then the second one, Constitution and Bylaws. And then we'll go on to best practices for financial transparency, which is probably the best part of the whole course. And I put down the category, what it's you need to pull up if you want to try to find that on LCI, which it's, a lot of stuff doesn't come up the way it's supposed to. Probably need to Google, it's the easiest way to do that. We'll start with the ebook for the club treasurer. Again, here's the quotation for that. LCI puts a lot of time and money into doing these courses and this paperwork. And most of what they tell you in here is pay your LCI dues, pay your dues, and it doesn't give you really much in the way of how do you actually become a treasurer, do all the things that you need to do. It kind of gives you an overview, but not many specifics to it. So first page in there, it's a guide that supports you as a treasurer, gives you the tools and resources, how to maintain the club's financial records, and your fiduciary responsibilities, and how to manage the financial operations of the club. Invoicing and payment of dues, recording receipts, paying, processing payments, managing both the administrative and accounts. And you're here to prepare to lead, prepare to succeed. And by being in this class, you've already shown the motivation that we're here to learn something. I know we've got at least one old timer treasurer that's been doing this for a long time. If you're new at it, hopefully we'll give you enough information. But things are changing all the time, so it really helps to be able to know all the things that are going on. So one of the things you can do is go to the self-study learning center on LCI. There's actually courses there on treasurer, being president, being the secretary. So it helps go through all that, even though you're only the treasurer, because you'll learn a lot. Get the club officer training here, we'll add to that, and then read the Constitution and bylaws, because that's actually your guidance on what you're supposed to be doing. So you want to know what's in there so you don't violate it. Part of that, sign on to LCI member portal, where you can get to my line and my LCI, which are a couple of the biggest resources. We'll be going more into more depth later on. Okay, managing your club finances, responsibilities. It's up to you to prepare the budget and set the annual dues. So right out of the box, first thing you have to do as a treasurer coming into the new year, July 1st, is send out your dues notices to everybody. So there's a lot of stuff you have to do just to be able to get started on that. You will receive monies deposited into separate accounts. You have an admin account and an activity account, and you'll be making payments. You need to prepare financial reports, both monthly, semi-annually, maintain the club's records, and then filing taxes. You know what an EIN is? A few years ago, when IRS decided to get heavy-handed with the nonprofits, you were supposed to be filing the paperwork every year. Most people weren't because they didn't care about it. And so they got heavy-handed on it. And we found out with some of the clubs, every time they got a new treasurer, they got a new EIN number. So now they got a dozen EIN numbers that they haven't done any reporting on. And some clubs were in big trouble. So you're only supposed to have one. So you can Google it and see if you have an extra one in there, you want to do something about it. We had one club, we'll name who they are, but they wound up with a $1,000 fine for the way their paperwork was. Speaking of taxes, 990 form, most of you don't make over $50,000. So it's a very easy 990. We call it a postcard. It's never been a postcard, but it's like 5 questions. Go ahead. There's only 5 questions and it's done. But you have to do that within 3 months at the end of the Lions year.
They used to send a piece of paper out. It was really easy. Now you have to find it on the website.
But yeah,
What website is that?
I will send you all the information and the links and whatnot to get to this and explain what you got to do So it should be pretty easy. And a reminder, so you make sure you get it done. If you don't do it, what happens? Your third year, you will lose your nonprofit status. And trying to get it back, dealing with the IRS, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I know a couple of clubs have done it. In fact, right now, Penfield is in a problem with it. They have a CPA doing their books. He didn't know to do that.
Overqualified.
Yeah, overqualified.
So do you have to file even if you don't collect the $50,000?
Oh, this is, if you're over 50,000, you have to do the long form of the
Okay.
990, which takes a lot of work. It's about 6 pages telling them no. But if you're under 50, which most all of us are, unless you have a clubhouse and do some other stuff, then this postcard, easy. Laura is the Department of License and Regulatory Affairs. That basically, it costs you $20, get registered with them, and that basically makes you an LLC or limited liability. Many years ago, a Lions Club held a pancake flying breakfast. One of the airplanes, after they had breakfast, when they took off, we took off with the wind, which you shouldn't do, overloaded, and he didn't clear the trees on the end of the runway, smashed into the trees, and they sued virtually everybody to do with it, including the aircraft manufacturer and the engine manufacturer, because the engine quit when it hit a tree. I wonder why. But they also included the little old lady lion who was pouring coffee. So they're going to go after everybody who's ever been into a lawsuit. So the LLC protects it where they can come in and get your money, your club's money, which a few $1,000s, but they can't come after you. It's very important. What's that?
Where do you find it?
It's, I can send you a link on that too, so you can get to it. And then again, it's a very easy form to fill out. Initially, they'll want to know who your officers are and everything. And each year you'll have to update it.
Barry, we have a question. They want to know how you get to the postcard. Or how you get
Oh,
to the
yeah,
postcard.
I will send you a thing as she was saying, it's very complicated. If you Google it, come up IRS 990, they give you about 6 pages of stuff you gotta look through. And there's one link on there that actually takes you on through. So I will send that to you so you know exactly where to go to and make it easy. I actually did a presentation on it at Higgins Lake one year. Told Esther what I was going to do. I was going to do it on the 990, and she's, "Are you crazy?" But it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was that easy. So made for a good presentation. Stop looking.
Oh, sorry.
Take the. Very good.
I changed the focus.
That's all.
What do you need to focus on? No? Yeah.
There we go. Okay, rest of your responsibilities, preparing financial records. At the end, you're turning your accounts over to your successor. And you'll have to check the bank account signatures. We've got a new treasurer. They'll need to be on that. You get a new president, you want to change it. We'll talk about that a little more. You will be the principal officer, and they also pass on whatever passwords you have for your bank accounts, online stuff. Okay, I talked about constitution and bylaws. It's the structure and policies throughout. There's 2 sets. You have the international ones, and then they have one for the standard clubs. Helps you to meet your obligations with LCI, and it's a reference document. It tells you all the different things you need to be doing. The club one is LA2, the International is LA1.
Mhm.
And here's what it looks like.
What's this LA thing?
Now, this is a standard one. Your club could make their own constitution and bylaws and just take the basics here and you can add anything you want in there. One of the things we did with Manchester is we made it so our quorum is only 10% of our people. Because the chances of having, we got a 50-member club, the chances of having half of them there, 25 is kind of slim, so make it something that's feasible. One of the biggest things in both of them is membership categories, and you don't have to memorize this. But mostly what we're going to be dealing with is active members, where you pay dues, you can vote, and you can hold office. The only other one you may have is the associate member. They're already paying dues to International and to their club, but they can be an associate member in your club and they can actually vote, but they can't hold office. People become an associate member because they like working with your club and they want to be part of it. We have a couple of them in our club. Actually, 3 of them. Next, you want to go on to the member portal. And this is where you're going to get things done. When you sign in for LCI, it's going to take you to this screen. And you got a couple of things here you do. And in my line here is where you're going to put in your service metrics and all the different things you've done, your money wise and helping people and things like that. So when your other one you want is my LCI. And that's where you get into the actual details of what's going on in your club, who the members are, and what their names and addresses, and you'll need all that when you try to work up your invoices for dues. Couple other things they have. You have my line talked about, my LCI. They also have insights, just a review of membership and service. They have the learning center, that's where you'll find that. And they have a LCI shop where you can buy club supplies and merchandise. But in most cases, it's going to be more expensive than you can find somewhere else. Like if you want to buy a plaque for somebody for Lion of the Year, it's cheaper to go into Jackson and find a place that does that than it is for international. Because they wouldn't like me telling them that.
Sometimes if you want to buy supplies like, eyeglass drop-off boxes, maybe you go in with other clubs. Because they come in like a pack of what, 5 or 10 or something?
And we'll get to that too. Okay, if you haven't logged on yet, you log on to that Lion account, you register, it's your name, last name, and your member ID. And this has to match exactly what's in the database of LCI. So if your name's Jerry, and you spell it Gerald or vice versa, so it's going to mess that up. Once you get that, you get a user ID, which will be your email account, which is the one registered with LCI, and then you get to pick your own password.
You can verify your information at the front desk. I printed out everybody's.
Okay. And talk to your club secretary. How many people have memorized your member ID for Lions?
That's why I bought them.
She has, oh.
No, we made cards for our members and it has the numbers on it.
In the past, they always printed out a membership card and most people don't do it anymore. Just something else to put in your wall and in your purse. Okay, now your My LCI account, you can check your monthly statements, and it just came out and just had a question on it because they'll send you a notice to check yourself, check your monthly statements at LCI. Most people, you say, well, we already paid it, you don't look, but you go a couple of months and something might pop up and surprise you. You've got a new member, you're going to get prorated, so you're going to owe something on there. The biggest factor, we'll get to that in a minute. Payment instructions for international, you can use a check, PayPal, credit or debit card. You can find club officer information, member information, and as I mentioned earlier, the big thing is getting the data download. where you can make a complete report of all your members, so their addresses, telephone numbers, ready reference. We talked about dues, on a statement and dues, you get on my LCI, and then this is hard to read up here, but on your Lions Club, and then go down to where it says statement dues. You click on that, and you're gonna see here, and this one shows that you have no charges, no payments, and you're zero balance, so you're in good shape. Some of the do's and don'ts, when semi-annually, you're going to get a statement from LCI for your membership. And it's going to show how many, this is hard to read, but it's going to show how many members you have that are regular members, how many student members. In our case, we got 2 new members on there, so we got prorated on them. And you'll see what your total is due, and you can pay off of that. Where do your dues go for the state MD11? Actually, dues for the year are $10. $7.61 goes to administration. Part goes to the Council of Governors. Part goes to the MD11 convention. And this restricted fund is just extra money that goes in there. It can't be used for these others. And then it's over to the international convention. Lion Pride, everybody pays for that, is $4.50.
Mary, the restricted fund, where does it, I mean, if you can't use it for any of the other things. what can you-
It's just, you can't use it for convention, you can't use it for the Council of Governors, so it just extra money in for the state.
So what's the typical thing it ends up getting used for?
Right,
What's that?
What's it typically end up getting used for? Lunches?
No. I sent a note to Wendy, and that's the best I got out of it.
Okay.
So to get you started, here's the district dues. And what happens is once at the beginning of the new year, new semi-year, Wendy will send out a notice that she's gotten from LCI that shows all the members that you have. We get it for the entire district. Shows each club how many Lions members you have, how many family members, how many student members. And then based on that, the district will send out invoice to you on that. So you actually, when we bill you, you're paying for the district and you're paying for the state one.
are we allowed to share this information with all of the members?
It's up to you, yeah. The big thing to remember on this is based on how many members you actually had on June 30th
Right,
or December 31st. If you wait to drop somebody on January 1st, you're gonna get charged 6 months for them. So it's very important that you get them out of there right away.
June before July 1st.
Yeah. And you can come plead to me all you want. I have a heart of stone. So this is a semi-annual, so this is half of what you pay for the year. You can see here for the MD11, it's $10. Family members are half price. Lions Pride, everybody pays that. And then student members are half price. For our district, it's actually $6 per year, $2 for the convention, and then we're offshore, we'll add an extra $1, which this year it's in Boston, so we don't have to collect that. The other thing I have to warn you about is International's already approved raising dues by at least $1 every year for the next 3 years. And the state's been talking about it for some time, so you can expect the dues to go up. I won't answer the question of, I'm a volunteer, why do I have to pay dues? You always hear that. So what you're looking at is $43 of LCI dues, $10 for the state, $6 for the district. And then you have to figure in, does your club actually add more dues onto that? Or do you have to pay meals? We know one of our clubs that they throw in all the meals and everything else, and if you don't show up, it's too bad. But you're talking hundreds of dollars instead of just. And again, like I said, families and students are half price, but that's only at the state level. The international, we don't do it at the district level.
Vera, you said the international has approved an increase of $1 every year for them. How many?
Yeah, start next year, I think.
For how many years?
It's, they got 3 years.
Okay.
We'll see what happens after that.
And that's the sort of thing, like, we didn't have anything to vote on at our convention last weekend, but that's the sort of thing that gets put on the ballot. It's
Okay.
like an international convention. You know, do we approve the raising of the dues by X amount over X time?
Okay.
So that got approved at some previous convention.
The other thing is the treasurer you need to look out for is you want your club to be in good standing. By that, they mean you're not in status quo or financial suspension. You're operating within the Constitution and bylaws. Your district dues are paid in full, and you have no LCI dues greater than $10. Or if you bought something through the LCI shop, that your balance isn't over $50 for over 90 days. Within 2 weeks or 15 days before the convention, you have to be fully paid or you cannot vote.
Okay. Is that what status quo means?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
status quo. And you can wind up in suspension if it's over 90 days to where technically you can't meet or do anything else. You're no longer legally aligned. Okay, the LCI shop, just so you know, you can get some club supplies there, new member kits. I think from the district level, what we might do is just buy a whole bunch of them and send to us. Yeah, Kelly's doing that. So you don't have to try and get them yourself. And that way they're available. Lions apparel, if you want vests. Peace poster kits. It costs you $9.95 for a peace poster kit. It costs you $10 for shipping. So what we do is we'll buy 15 or 20 kits and spread it around all the different clubs that are using that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
I think we both started in the district already, did we?
Yeah, it's already been through. I'll do for the next one.
I was just reminded this afternoon to put it in the district newsletter to remind everybody.
Yeah. And if you don't do peace poster in your schools, and that's something you might want to consider, it's middle schools. There's specific requirements on size and topics and things like that. But at the district level, the top winner gets $100, second place gets $75, and third place gets $50. At the MD convention, they make more money there, and it can go to the international convention. Although I don't think there's been a US winner in about 30 years. Some of them artwork we get from India and Asia, it's just fantastic. You can't believe that a 12-year-old person could do that. And I don't- One of our members who's an art teacher for many years, he looked at it and said they don't have that kind of skill. It's questionable.
Right.
But you can also get awards and medals and then plaques and awards and recognition things. But you can get that a little cheaper other places. Okay, so what are you gonna do in your first 30 days? When you go back to your club tonight, you need to get an accurate roster for your semi-annual dues. And this is really up to the secretary to make sure all the information in there is correct. I was the state's administrative manager to correct the database for sending out the Lions Pride. And we get so many kickbacks on addresses that were wrong, people had moved, people had died. And right now, if you're getting like 2 copies at your place, one of the things I did doing that was cut out one of the copies so you only get one, because I realized as a district editor, part of the publication board, the state was spending hundreds of dollars on postage. Because what happens, I'm not sure what the price is now, but 62 cents to send you that little newspaper. If it gets kicked back, it costs you another 62 cents. If you have to forward it, it costs you another 62 cents. And we were just spending all kinds of money. And then if you're associate member, you belong to another club. But if you're in the roster, then you're going to get another copy from the other club. So there was a lot of waste going on. Unfortunately, we went back to that. I've told Wendy for years that we need to just do online copy, which is much prettier anyway, better to work with, not have to worry about. Okay, it's up to you to organize and maintain your administrative and activity accounts. Look at your revenue and expense receipts, statements from your financial institutions, and your monthly finance reports. You need to access your local finance institution. I do online banking and I use Quicken, so I can kind of compare the two, keep it going that way. You can still do it with a log book or any way that you want to do it, but it's a little easier if you can get on and check your balance all the time and see what's cleared and what isn't. You'll need new signature cards. So if you have new treasurer or new president, go to the bank and do the cards. Make sure you have enough checks, deposit slips, receipts. You can, as I mentioned earlier, log into my LCI, make sure you don't have an account balance that's due. Statements. Then you can start preparing your dues invoices for your members. Like I said before, it's based on your club roster as of June 30th and December 31st. The day after, you're going to get to pay for them. Work with your secretary on that, make sure it's accurate. It's up to her, him or her, to make sure all the data in there is correct. So if you have somebody who's changed addresses, they should know about it. As a state administrative manager, I was finding it out before the secretary was, because we immediately get it from the post office. And I originally would contact the secretary to get them to change it, and that wasn't working at all. So I finally just started doing it myself. Then you get a data download, and then you get to create your own invoice. It's any way that you want to do it. It could just be a quick form that you make up, or you use Quicken or some of the other financial things like that. You can actually make one up that you can send everybody.
Barry, is there an easy way to, we got, I think QuickBooks or Quicken or something that we're sharing with somebody who used to be a member. I think they got it for their church and they were able to use more than one. And that's what we're using now. Is there an easy way to get our own, or a cheaper way to get our own? I mean, we can continue to use that one, but I was just wondering.
It depends on which one. I'd recommend Quicken because it's maybe $70 and it does everything you need to do. At our district, they got it onto QuickBooks, which is far more complicated and costs you like $360 a year.
That's the one.
Yeah, and if you get Quicken, there's a program where you can transfer that all over, change the data so it will work in Quicken. So that might be a better way to do it. The problem with QuickBooks is it's got too much information. It's trying to develop a database so it can do all the invoicing, it can do all your inventory and sales and stock and accounts receivable and all these things you really don't need to worry about. So it's taking a lot more work. And
Okay.
personally, I get better reports for what I need out of Quicken.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And remember, you pay LCI separately. They will send you an invoice, you pay them separately. We had one club send it to me instead, and so I gotta put it in an envelope, send it forward on to them. And then your district dues include the Indian Mountain and the Lions Pride. Like I said many times, they're semi-annual, so you're gonna do it twice a year. Monthly tasks. promptly deposit all revenue in the appropriate accounts. I've seen it before, well, somebody will keep everything for a couple of weeks and finally go in and do it. That just kind of opens the thing up to where you're gonna have problems where forget what's for what, or combine them all together, and you can't figure, you know, there's $150, but there's $350, which one went to what? So it's best, I do it almost on a daily basis. I just walk in, make the deposit, take care of it.
Is that what the memo line is for?
I'm gonna get that. I've learned a few tricks over the years to get into all that. But keep out copies of all your invoices with me, and no ticky, no pay. You have to have an invoice to show me where that money went. And we talk about it later, but you don't have to convince me, you don't have to convince the district, you don't have to convince the state treasurer, because they're not gonna come look at it. LCI is not gonna come look at it. Now, if the IRS gets 87,000 more agents, who are they gonna go after? I'm worried because they're already looking at all of us. And the next low hanging fruit are nonprofits. I look, well, for our other organization, I look to see how many nonprofits we have in Manchester, in a town of 2,000. We have over 100. There's stuff I've never heard of. All you gotta do is file the paperwork to become a nonprofit. And so they're out there everywhere. So I'm sure they're gonna start looking at that to see who's using the system. Balance all your monthly statements. They're printed month-end financial reports. Distribute those, include your balance, your cash flow, your budget comparisons, and then retain for your records. If you ever shown up for a Lions meeting and the financial report is on the back of an envelope, we have $360 here.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Fast reverse.
this is speed reading. I'm doing this for B.
Okay.
You can read it fast just as well as you can read it slow, right?
You were at Mount.
Oh, no, okay. So you're reporting, you show the opening balance from the previous report, show all the income, note the source and how much, all expenditures, any expenditure that you have either has to be approved in your approved budget, or at a Lions meeting, it's a line item that it was approved. If audited by the IRS, you're gonna wanna know who said you could do this. You wanna be able to show them. And it should also be in the minutes and include a receipt or an invoice on it, and then an ending balance. So you got the whole transaction all together in there. Our club secretary keeps me on her toes, and she puts in everything in the minutes each month. Okay. Here's what I do for a report. Part of it is up here. This is for my bank account. It happens to be our admin account. And it shows what our total is. And here they don't tell you what each one is. So I just write it in there. It shows $100. And then down here, this is what comes out of my Quicken. And it'll show this should balance with what this is. Well, these are different because they got 3 transactions that have not cleared the bank yet. So you add those up, and this should match with that. I keep 2 3-ring binders on each of our accounts, one for service, one for admin, and put all the paperwork in there in chronological order. You don't have to do it. It's a suggestion, but whichever way you can keep track of it. If you're going to write a check on something, here in this case, you wrote a check from the Clear Lake Lions Club for their initiation. And what I do is I took a copy of the flyer and I put a copy of the check, make a copy of it and put it in the binder. You can already see, okay, where'd it go? That was for that. All right, that makes sense. Then the follow-up, I put in a copy of the canceled check that we get back from the bank. Why do I do that? What would you do if, oop, get over here. Here it says Clear Lake, they stamped it, and then down here you see Barry Allen. Wait a minute. They stamped it, but he countersigned it. He might have put it in his own account. So that's just a double way to make sure that it's going into the account you want. And it's not so much, we're not gonna do that. But if the IRS is looking at you and they see something like that and they say, where'd that go? You got to be able to explain it. So you got all the information right here. We talked about deposit slips. I did 3 deposits of $50. So which one was this one for? I don't know. So what I recommend, we got a nice little space here. The bank's not going to use it. It's kind of your notepad. And I put in here those dues and it's Allen. Okay, so that's what I've got in my book. It shows exactly where that $50 came from. If I had 3 of them, I know one came from Nancy, and another one came from Lyndon. So you know exactly where to do it. If I do more than one, there's a deposit slip, and in here I put down their dues, I put the name of each person. And there's $150. So you know where it all came from. It's all really a matter of keeping track of all the funding.
Barry, are you keeping, do we need to do the actual deposit slips that we don't use those too much anymore?
I do deposits with my phone.
Right.
Part of the problem with doing it by phone is you don't get you can't see exactly what it was. When you pull it up on the bank, it just shows phone deposit, or I can't remember what they call it.
Right.
And amount, so you can't track it that way, so.
But if you deposit, if you still have the check, because you did it by phone, you can write on that check in the memo line, across the back, whatever you want.
Yeah, whichever way you put it, because I took over for the treasurer and Annette did a lot of deposits through her phone. So I get on the online and it's all deposit, doesn't tell me anything about it. So and you got to go back through and try and figure it all out.
Are you talking about for this last convention?
No, it just.
I was gonna tell you, I have everything written down that you'll need.
Annette was the cabinet treasurer before Barry took over. When she moved up to BDG, she was wearing too many hats.
Yeah. Don't we all?
But yeah, so as long as you paper trail it.
That's the main thing I'm looking at is paper trail, so you can say exactly, and in your paperwork, you keep a notebook like that you can write on there and say that's what each one was. When you get about 30 of them, you'll have no idea which was which.
So if you haven't done that already, I have it for you. I will share it. I'll give it to you. Every check that came and how much it was and where it came from.
That's what you need. And then also with deposits, again, you can go online with the bank and get the canceled check, in this case, canceled deposit, just to show that really went into that account and not somewhere else. Okay, reimbursements, it has to be approved by the board of directors. It has to have a receipt or an invoice, and it has to be in the club minutes. So if it's in your approved budget, then you can write the check right now. You don't have to go to the club with it because they've already approved it. But anything else should be in the minutes and show that the club approved.
Now, what's an instance if it's not approved by the board where somebody would turn in a receipt?
Well,
No.
it depends on what the receipts are for. If it's a service project where you knew that was going to come in, that's probably been approved as a service project.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, just because somebody gives you receipts doesn't mean you can pay it back.
And yeah, and what we're working on right now is a receipt that we give for anybody who gives us who requests a reimbursement, it has to be approved by the board, and we have to have a receipt, otherwise we're not giving you any money.
The one thing we don't like is somebody, and I'll go out and buy $50 worth of supplies and have the club reimburse me.
Yeah.
You know, buying it before you get approval. You
Okay.
really got to stay away from
So
that.
you've answered my question for me, thank you.
Okay, bank accounts, it says to have two signatures, signatories on that. It means two different people that can sign it, which is going to be you, the treasurer, and probably the president. And you could have a third one or a fourth one if you want to. Some people read that wrong, that you need to have two signatures on each check. And I talked with our bank manager, and she said, all they see is that there is a signature. They don't care about two. That's between you and God. So as long as you have more than one. What came up and you saw earlier for the Clear Lake Virtual Lions Club, we this year installed them and their new officers and everything, and the following month their treasurer died. It turned out she was the only one that was signing on the checkbook, so they couldn't pay their dues because the other lady who took over as a treasurer, that bank was 2-hour drive away from her, and just trying to take off work to go do that. So you want to make sure you have at least two people on there to cover that. You need to maintain two accounts, your activity account and administrative. There's no real rule on it. You could actually have it in the same bank account, but that makes it really complicated. So you're best off having two accounts.
Two separate bank accounts?
Two separate bank accounts. And it normally doesn't cost you anything anyways. Ensure visibility. You want all your bank accounts reviewed by 2 or more members. Bank statements aligned with your financial report. And one club, which Tom's here, they have 2 of their members at each meeting look at the bank statement and make sure it matches up. And that's one way of doing it. Audits. You need to do an audit annually or anytime you change the treasurer. It doesn't have to be extensive. You don't have to hire a CPA to come in and look at it. It can be just a couple of your own members, or you can bring somebody in from another club. You want somebody that kind of knows the difference between service and administrative, so they make sure you're doing the right thing. I've had a couple of clubs will call me and ask me to come out and just take a quick look at the books, confirm everything is correct. So we can do it that way. But you want to make sure the balances match up, that there's no discrepancies, and things are going in the right account. If you had a clubhouse and need a new roof and stuff, well, it still has to come out of your administrative funds. There's other rules that go along with that. But we've had a club say, well, we're going to do a spaghetti dinner, but this one is going to be for the new roof. And think, well, since you're doing it that way, they're legal. You're not. You're still collecting money from the public. It has to go back to the public. So that's
We're at 5-minute warning.
5 minutes is good. We're just about there. Okay. And make a note in your club minutes that you were audited and who did it. And so it's there for everybody to see.
And we
At the end of the
requested
year, you want to see the bank statement, minutes showing approvals, fundraising and project reports, receipts of any disbursements.
How often should we do audits, and can a member request an audit off cycle?
They could do it if they want to. Normally, like I said, it's once a year or anytime you change treasurers.
who does the audit.
It can be somebody from your club. It can be somebody from a neighboring club or anybody that you know that has the expertise. It helps to have it be a lion that knows the difference between activity and admin. At the end of the year, all the income and expenses, registering the names of the accounts for the new year. And then they have questions.
That'd be me.
It's your chance. Another question.
Man.
So I congratulate you on becoming treasurers. If you have any questions, feel free to call me at any time. I'll help you out, guide you through the process.
I guarantee he's sitting at his computer every day, all day long. I'm going to go.
Just waiting.
Well,
What's
this
your
is a
number?
busy time of year. We were gone for 2 weeks and everything gets caught up and it was end of the quarter, end of the month. And after today, I'm kind of caught up. I just need to get a report done for the cabinet meeting on Sunday. Okay, thank you very much. You're doing a great audience.
Thank you, Barry.
There's a waste basket here by the door. If you're unfamiliar with the building, the restrooms are down the hall, go down, make a left. Yeah, okay. I don't know, there might be some that way. I always go to the left.
They're all